the vessel groaned beneath the weight of its crew and cargo, its patchwork hull a testament to countless repairs and desperate improvisations. Kael stood at the prow, eyes sharp and calculating despite the weariness etched deep into his weathered face. Around him, the crew moved with practiced efficiency, each member locked in the tense rhythm of preparation and vigilance. The toxic sea churned beneath them, a swirling mass of corrosive sludge and noxious vapors that clung to the air like a living shroud. The thick fog hung low, muffling the distant howls and clanks of mechanical beasts that prowled beneath the surface. Their metallic limbs sliced through the water with a grinding cadence, sending ripples that threatened to unbalance the fragile vessel. Kael's grip tightened on the railing as he scanned the horizon, the weight of responsibility settling like a stone in his chest. "We're close," Joran whispered from beside him, his cracked glasses catching the dim light of the lanterns strung along the deck. The tech specialist's slender fingers trembled slightly as he held a battered schematic, ancient lines and symbols hinting at secrets buried beneath the waves. "The artifact lies beyond this boundary, if the legends are true." Myra's fiery red hair whipped in the biting wind as she stepped forward, her piercing green eyes blazing with a restless energy. "Legends won't save us if we get torn apart out here," she snapped, voice low but fierce. "We need to push harder, not wait for the sea to swallow us." Kael met her gaze, the tension between caution and urgency crackling like static. "We don't rush headfirst into death," he replied evenly. "This isn't just about us. It's about Steelbone." The exchange hung in the cold air, a microcosm of the fragile trust binding the crew. Mira's impulsiveness clashed with Kael's measured command, yet beneath the friction lay a shared determination that refused to break. Below deck, the soft glow of flickering lamps illuminated Joran hunched over his schematics. His slender frame was tense with concentration as he deciphered the cryptic markings, each revelation a thread pulling the crew deeper into the mystery of the artifact. Lena moved quietly among the bunks, her sun-kissed skin glowing softly in the lamplight. She applied salves to scraped knuckles and soothed fevered brows, her warm presence a balm to the crew's frayed nerves. Outside, the vessel creaked and shuddered as a surge of luminescent toxic waves crashed against the hull, casting eerie, shifting shadows that danced like spirits across the deck. Grav's broad shoulders tensed as he manned the heavy weapons, eyes scanning the murky waters for any sign of movement. Tess, the young scout with quick, darting eyes, stood at the bow, her fingers twitching with anticipation as she peered into the gloom. The boundary between the safe haven of Steelbone and the unknown expanse of forbidden waters was more than a line on a map. It was a test of their resolve, their trust in one another, and their will to survive. As the vessel crossed the threshold, the crew braced against the biting wind and the weight of what lay ahead. Mechanical beasts lurked beneath the surface, their glowing red eyes and grinding limbs a constant threat. The toxic sea whispered its menace in the hiss of corrosive waves and the cold bite of the air. Kael's voice cut through the tension, steady and commanding. "Stay sharp. Trust each other. We're not just crossing water, we're crossing into the heart of the unknown." A murmur of assent rippled through the crew as they tightened formation, every sense alert. The journey ahead promised danger, but also hope. The fragile hope that the artifact might save Steelbone from decay and oblivion. As the vessel pressed forward, the toxic fog swirling thicker around them, Kael allowed himself a brief glance at his crew. Each face was etched with fear, determination, and something else, a fierce, unyielding bond forged in fire and desperation. This found family, imperfect and battered, was all he had left to fight for. The sea ahead was dark and endless, but so was their will to endure. The voyage had truly begun. The distant groan of the engines faltered for a moment, and a ripple of unease passed through the crew. Joran's fingers tightened on the schematic, his pale face illuminated by the eerie glow from below deck. The artifact's energy signature should be detectable soon, he murmured, scanning the faded glyphs. Mira stalked the deck restlessly, her gaze sharp as a blade. We can't afford to hesitate. Every moment here invites the Warden's beasts. Kael nodded, eyes narrowing. Steady. We move when the time is right. The toxic waves licked at the hull, their phosphorescent colors casting ghostly light on the crew's faces. Lena's soft voice broke the silence. We'll need to be ready to heal more than broken bones out here. Grav grunted, loading a heavy weapon with practiced efficiency. Then we'll make sure there's nothing left standing to break. Tess's gaze flicked to the horizon, where a shadow moved beneath the waves, a metallic limb, glinting with menace. Something's coming, she whispered. Kael's heart pounded, but his voice was calm. Prepare yourselves. This is the moment we've been sailing toward. The threshold is crossed. The sea roared, the fog thickened, and the destiny of Steelbone hung in the balance. The voyage had pushed them to the edge, but the true test was just beginning. At the break of a sickly dawn, the crew gathered on the deck, the horizon now a jagged line of rusted wreckage and toxic spray. The forbidden waters stretched before them like an open wound in the world, threatening to swallow them whole. Kael's voice rang out, steady and resolute. We crossed together, no one left behind. Myra's eyes flashed with fierce loyalty for Steelbone. Joran adjusted his cracked glasses, a hint of a smile breaking through his usual quiet demeanor. For hope, Lena nodded, her warm smile a beacon in the gloom. For family, Grav hefted his weapon, his scarred face grim but determined. Let's finish this. Tess's youthful voice added, and survive. With a final surge of the engines, the vessel plunged forward, slicing through the toxic sea and into the unknown. The crossing had begun, and Steelbone's fate sailed with them. Below the churning surface of the toxic sea lay the lost wrecker remnant of a forgotten era, swallowed by the corrosive tides and draped in shadows. The air was thick with a metallic temps, the scent of decay mingling with the ever-present haze that clung to their floating city. Kael stood at the helm, his gaze sharp and unyielding, eyes narrowed against the glare of the polluted sun. Everyone ready. Kael's voice cut through the low hum of the engines as the crew prepared for descent. Myra's fiery gaze met his, her jaw set with fierce determination. Ready as ever, she replied, tightening the straps of her gear. Joran adjusted his cracked glasses, clutching the lantern that would pierce the murky depths. Lena checked her satchel of herbs and medical supplies one last time, while Grav hefted a reinforced harpoon launcher, his broad frame braced for the unknown. Tess, the youngest among them, bounced lightly on her heels, eyes darting anxiously to the horizon. Let's get this done, she whispered, voice barely audible over the hum. With a deep breath, Kael gave the order. The vessel's descent began. Beneath the surface, the world transformed. The sunlight fractured into sickly beams that struggled to penetrate the toxic haze, casting eerie shadows across the twisted metal skeleton of the wreck. Rusted plates jutted jaggedly like broken bones, and corroded pipes twisted in grotesque spirals. Joran's lanterns flickered, casting a wavering glow that illuminated the haunting silhouettes of the sunken giant. Stay close, Kael cautioned, voice low and steady. We don't know what's waiting down here. The crew moved deliberately, their boots clanking against the uneven metal floor, echoes swallowed by the oppressive silence. Then came the first sound aloe, grinding whir that sent a chill down their spines. Mechanical claws scraped against steel, and a pair of glowing eyes blinked open in the gloom. Mechanical sentinels, Joran whispered, eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. They must have been the wreck's last line of defense. Myra's hand flew to her weapon, muscles coiled like a spring. Let's show them we're not prey. The sentinels lunged with terrifying speed, gears grinding and pistons hissing as they attacked. The crew scattered, working in unison. Kael's deft mechanical knowledge guided their strikes. Lena's quick hands tended to bruises and burns, and Grab's heavy weapons shattered the beast's metallic limbs. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Sparks flew, mingling with the acrid scent of burning circuits. Myra's fierce shouts cut through the din as she coordinated their movements, while Tess darted through shadows, relaying warnings. Joran's calm voice offered quiet counsel, deciphering the mechanisms of their foes to exploit weaknesses. One by one, the sentinels fell, their bodies crumpling into inert heaps of twisted metal. But the victory was bittersweet. Grab's heavy breathing echoed the exhaustion that weighed on them all. Keep moving, Kael urged. The artifacts close, navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the wreck. The crew faced crumbling floors and hidden traps, spiked panels that snapped shut like jaws, rusted wires that sparked deadly arcs, and pressure plates that triggered cascading debris. Myra's impulsiveness nearly triggered a collapse, but Kael's quick reflexes saved the group from certain doom, forcing a moment of tense silence. Careful, Kael warned, voice softer now. We can't afford mistakes. At last, they reached the heart of the wreck-vast chamber, where the artifact rested atop a pedestal, its surface pulsing with a faint, otherworldly glow. The light cast dancing shadows on the walls, illuminating ancient symbols etched deep into the metal. Kael stepped forward, hand trembling as he reached out. The weight of their journey pressed down on him, the losses endured, the sacrifices made, the fragile hope tethered to this single moment. Suddenly, the water above began to churn, the surface roiling with the ominous approach of unseen threats. We need to move, Lena urged, her voice edged with urgency. With the artifact secured, the crew began their ascent, hearts pounding as the wreck seemed to groan in protest. Mechanical guardians stirred once more, but the crew's unity and resilience saw them through. Each step a testament to their fierce determination. Emerging into the dim light of the surface, the artifact safe in their possession, Kael allowed himself a rare, fleeting smile. The voyage was far from over, but in this moment, hope flickered bright against the endless toxic sea. The faint glow from their lanterns cast long, trembling shadows across rusted beams and shattered hulls, illuminating the mechanical beasts that stirred in the gloom. Their movements were slow but deliberate, joints creaking and eyes flickering with a malevolent red light that chilled Kael to his core. Behind him, Myra's sharp voice cut through the water, issuing commands to the crew as they spread out cautiously among the ruins. Stay close, watch your corners. These things are more cunning than any we've faced before. Joran's gloved hands hovered over a cracked console, reading the faded schematics that hinted at the artifact's resting place. This way, he signaled, pointing toward a collapsed corridor partially blocked by debris. The artifact's chamber should be just beyond. Kael nodded, his heart heavy with a mix of hope and dread. The weight of leadership pressed down harder than the sea above them. He had promised his crew salvation, a chance to save Steelbone from the slow decay of its failing engines and dwindling resources. But the price of that promise was becoming painfully clear. A sudden, metallic screech shattered the tense silence. From the darkness, a pack of mechanical beasts erupted, their sharp claws tearing at the water as they lunged toward the crew. Mira was the first to react, her form cutting through the water with practiced precision. Her fists connected with the beast's metal limbs, sparks flying as she dismantled one after another with ruthless efficiency. "Protect Jorin," Kael barked, moving to shield the tech specialist from an enforcer wielding jagged blades. Lena was close behind, her satchel of herbs and mechanical first aid kits ready to tend wounds as soon as the fighting paused. The battle raged beneath the sea, a chaotic ballet of survival in the eerie silence of the drowned wreck. Grab's booming voice and steady aim with heavy weapons provided critical support, breaking apart mechanical adversaries with calculated force. Yet each victory came at a cost: winded bodies, frayed nerves, and the gnawing realization that the Warden's forces would not relent. Emerging from the shadows, the Warden himself appeared, a towering figure clad in patchwork armor of metal plates that clinked ominously. His glowing red lenses locked onto Kael with a cold, ruthless intensity. "You should have stayed away," the Warden intoned, voice distorted by the filtered water but no less menacing. "This sea belongs to me. The artifact is mine to command." Kael squared his shoulders, meeting the tyrant's gaze without flinching. "Steelbone belongs to its people. We fight for survival, for hope. Your reign ends here." What followed was a clash of wills and metal, the two leaders engaging in a brutal duel amid swirling debris. The wreck groaned and shifted as the battle tore through its fragile skeleton, the water around them churning with the force of their struggle. Meanwhile, the crew fought valiantly to hold off the Warden's enforcers, their unity tested by exhaustion and fear. Mira's fiery spirits shone brightest against the mechanical onslaught, while Lena's calming presence healed wounds both physical and emotional. As the wreck began to collapse, a sudden tremor sent clouds of silt swirling into the water, obscuring vision and threatening to trap the crew beneath tons of falling metal. Kael realized the dire choice before him: to sacrifice his own safety by holding a collapsing passage, allowing the others to escape with the artifact. With a fierce, bittersweet determination, Kael positioned himself against the crumbling wall, bracing for the impact. His eyes caught the eerie glow of the artifact as it pulsed with an otherworldly light, a beacon of hope amidst the ruin. "Go," he shouted through the comms, voice strained but resolute. "Take it back to Steelbone. Save our city." The crew hesitated, but the urgency in Kael's tone propelled them forward, their silhouettes fading into the darkness as the wreck groaned one final time and the passage sealed behind him. Alone, Kael felt the crushing weight of the sea and his own choices. The cost of leadership, the burdens of past trauma, and the fierce will to survive converged in this moment of sacrifice. Far above, the waters rippled silently, hiding the battle beneath, but in the hearts of those who survived, the fight for Steelbone had only just begun. The artifact, secure and humming with latent power, promised a new dawn for Steelbone. But as the crew swam toward the surface, their minds bore the heavy imprint of loss and loyalty, courage and sacrifice. The final confrontation had tested them beyond measure, yet forged a bond unbreakable of found family united in the endless toxic sea, ready to face whatever lay ahead. And somewhere deep beneath, the Warden's shadow lingered still, a grim reminder that the price of survival was never truly paid in full. The floating city, once a fragile patchwork of scrap and dreams, seemed to hold its breath as the scavenger crew returned from their harrowing voyage. Kael stood at the prow of their vessel, the artifact cradled carefully in his hands, small, intricate mechanism humming with latent power. Around him, the city's failing engines groaned and sputtered, their once steady rhythm now faltering under the strain of years adrift on the toxic sea. A low hum began to spread from the artifact, subtle at first, then growing in intensity until the air vibrated with its pulse. The engines responded in kind, sputtering to life, their weary gears grinding and clanking as the city stirred awake. Sparks flickered along rusted conduits, illuminating the faces of the gathered inhabitants who had come to witness this fragile moment of revival. Kael's eyes, sharp and weary, scanned the crowd as murmurs of disbelief and hope rippled through the masses. Myra's fiery gaze met his, a flicker of unspoken gratitude passing between them. Joran, ever the quiet scholar, adjusted his cracked glasses and studied the artifact's glow with a mixture of awe and reverence. Lena moved among the crew and citizens alike, her satchel of herbs a comforting presence as she tended to the wounded and weary. The city's air, once thick with the stench of decay and despair, seemed to breathe anew. Children ran along the scrap walkways, their laughter tentative but genuine, while the older residents exchanged cautious smiles. Grav's broad shoulders loomed as he oversaw the rebalancing of mechanical systems, his gruff voice cutting through the morning air with orders and reassurances. Kael felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders, a mixture of relief, pride, and a lingering ache for those they had lost. The journey had been perilous, marked by sacrifice and betrayal, but this victory was theirs. Yet, beneath the surface of this fragile hope lay the scars of hardship, the knowledge that survival was an ongoing battle. As the engines found their rhythm, the city's lights flickered hesitantly to life, casting long shadows over the twisted metal and peeling paint. The toxic sea beyond remained an ever-present threat, its horizon endless and merciless. But for now, Steelbone was alive. That evening, the crew gathered on the highest deck, a flickering fire crackling against the chill that crept in with the night. Faces tired yet resolute, they shared stories of the journey, the battles fought, the losses mourned, the small victories that had kept hope alive. Tess, young and agile, recounted her first storm, her voice steady and proud. Myra's sharp wit lightened heavy moments, while Joran's quiet reflections offered perspective and calm. Lena passed around herbal brews, her warm smile a balm to aching bodies and spirits. Grab's deep laughter rumbled like distant thunder, a reminder that strength came in many forms. And Kael, standing among them, felt the fragile bonds of this found family titiner, tapestry woven through shared trials and unspoken promises. Yet, as the firelight danced across their faces, shadows lurked beyond the city's edge. The warden's threat had not vanished. It had merely retreated, biding its time. The artifact had granted life, but it had also stirred deeper currents beneath the toxic waves. Kael's gaze drifted to the endless sea, the horizon a dark line against the starlit sky. Questions whispered on the wind. How long could this fragile peace endure? What new dangers awaited their drifting city? The night grew deeper, but within Steelbone, a fierce, bittersweet determination burned brighter than ever. The voyage had changed them all. They had faced loss and fear, betrayal and sacrifice, and now, with the city's engines humming a tentative song of renewal, the crew stood ready to face the uncertain dawn ahead. The patchwork city, a sprawling lattice of rusted scrap and salvage technology, basked in the soft golden hues that filtered through its corrugated metal walls. The air, heavy with the scent of brine and oil, carried the hum of engines that had once been silent for too long. Now they thrummed steadily, a heartbeat rekindled by the artifact's mysterious power. Steelbone was awakening. Kael stood atop the highest tower of the city, his lean figure silhouetted against the rising sun. His dark hair, streaked with early grays, fluttered in the cool morning breeze. His sharp eyes scanned the endless toxic sea, its surface shimmering with iridescent pollutants and drifting flotsam. The sea was as relentless as ever, but today it seemed less like a looming threat and more like a vast expanse of possibility. Behind him, the city stirred to life. Children scampered through narrow alleys patched with vibrant scraps of cloth, their laughter weaving through the clang of hammers and the murmur of voices. The engines beneath Steelbone's hull vibrated with a newfound strength, pushing the city forward with a steady pulse that spoke of survival and renewal. Mira approached with a bundle of salvaged parts cradled in her arms, her fiery red hair catching the light. Her muscular frame moved with the grace of a scout, every step purposeful. She paused beside Kael, offering a rare smile. Their unspoken bond, forged in fire and desperation, stood as a testament to the found family they had become. "The new turbines are ready," she said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion lingering in her eyes. "Grav's been working through the night to reinforce the hull. This city's not falling apart on our watch." Kael nodded, the weight of leadership settling more lightly on his shoulders. Now that trust had begun to bridge the gaps he had long feared to cross. "Good, we've earned this moment. But we can't forget what's out there." Myra's gaze shifted to the horizon, where the toxic sea stretched endlessly, its surface marred by swirling mists and the faint outlines of mechanical beasts lurking beneath. "We'll be ready, together." Below, in the communal workshop, Jorin bent over a cluttered workbench scattered with ancient schematics and mechanical components. His slender fingers moved with careful precision, fitting a delicate gear into place. The cracked lenses of his glasses caught the flicker of oil lamps, reflecting the quiet determination etched on his pale face. Lena moved beside him, her sun-kissed skin glowing softly in the dim light. She carried a satchel of herbs and mechanical first aid supplies, her warm presence a balm to the uneasy energy that clung to the space. Her nurturing touch steadied Jorin's hand as he adjusted the intricate device, a symbol of the harmony between humanity and technology that Steelbone now embodied. "This should stabilize the energy flow," Jorin murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "If the artifact is truly the key, then this is how we unlock its potential." Lena smiled gently. "And if anyone can figure it out, it's you." Elsewhere, Grav and Tess coordinated the reinforcement of the city's outer defenses. Grav's broad shoulders bore the scars of battles past, his bald head glistening with sweat as he directed the placement of heavy metal plates. Tess, agile and quick, darted between workstations, her sharp eyes scanning the toxic storms brewing beyond the city's fragile borders. "Watch your footing," Grav grunted, lifting a plate into place. "These storms won't wait for us to be ready." Tess nodded, her youthful face set with determination. "I'll keep watch. No storm or scavenger will catch us off guard." The clang of metal against metal echoed through Steelbone, a rhythmic chorus that sang of resilience and rebirth. As the day wore on, the city's inhabitants worked side by side, their hands mending the wounds of a world long broken. The artifact's power had breathed life back into Steelbone, but it was the crew's unwavering spirit that truly forged its future. Kael returned to the heart of the city, where a gathering had formed. Voices rose in hopeful conversation, tales of survival and plans for renewal weaving through the air. Children listened wide-eyed as old Marek recounted stories of Steelbone's past glories and the treacherous seas that surrounded them. Myra stood beside Kael, her green eyes scanning the crowd. "We've come a long way," she said softly. But the sea still holds secrets and dangers. Kael's gaze hardened with resolve. Then we'll face them as we always have. Together, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the scrap city. Steelbone's engines thrummed steadily beneath their feet, a steady pulse of life against the endless toxic sea. The journey had been perilous, the losses deep, but hope had taken root amid desolation. As night fell, the stars shimmered faintly through the smog-choked sky, silent witnesses to a new dawn on the scrap sea. The crew gathered, their faces illuminated by flickering lanterns, the bonds of found family stronger than ever. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for tonight, Steelbone was unbroken and ready to endure. The horizon whispered promises of storms and shadows yet to come. But within the city of scrap and steel, a fierce determination burned bright. The voyage had ended, but the story was far from over. "Rest well," Kael said, voice low but steady. "Tomorrow we build the future." And with that, the city breathed alive once more.